What's up, guys? Mason the Brock Henderson here, and this is Daredevil Season 3, Episode 7, Aftermath. Whew, things are really getting going. Yeah, I really like the progression. I mean, it's not a whole lot for me to talk about because I'd just be recapping everything. Because, like, most of it, I'm just sitting here and just kind of taking it in, enjoying it. There's not a whole lot that's throwing me off. There's not a whole lot that I'm sitting here going, like, that was incredible. It's just all really well done, like all the stuff with Foggy figuring out what's going on, Karen going through her own personal dilemma, Matt trying to figure out what his next step is. I will say the scene with him at the beginning where he's kind of vulnerable for a moment. It's been a while since we've seen Matt that vulnerable, I think. So it was a good scene. All honestly all three of the main cast had some fantastic moments, between Foggy, the one scene where he gets back and you could see like the just terror that he's been hiding kind of it's almost like it's hitting him in that moment. That was fantastic. Karen, when she was in the car talking to her dad, that was a fantastic moment. And then Matt in that scene, I mean, all the actors have generally brought their A games. Like, rarely do I think of a moment where I'm like, they could have done a little bit better with that line, or that read was a little wonky. So it's no surprise that they knock it out of the park again. But those three scenes in particular, I'm just kind of like, yeah, that's really good acting. It's fantastic. So, yeah, all in all, is really good episode. I'm excited to see what's going to happen next with Agent Nadim, because it definitely feels like he is realizing that there's more going on here than meets the eye, and he's starting to kind of shift his gaze from Matt and his friends and start to realize, okay, maybe there's something else going on here that I don't know about, and I need to figure this out. And his boss as well is also like kind of keeping him in check, and I guess she's trying to do the right thing and trying to tell somebody, but I like the fact that he's saying, no, we need to figure out more about what's going on before we go to anybody else about this. Because yeah, if you just went to the top brass and just like, hey, so we think Fisk has been using this whole time, that probably wouldn't play out well. So I do think most of the time, I do think it's a dumb idea to just lie about something, but this is a scenario where you've done all of this, you've come this far, you should probably look into these accusations more. And the fact that he hasn't really looked into it yet is kind of his fault. But I think it's a good idea to figure out more about this information, figure out more about what's true and what's a lie. So, yeah, I'll be really interested to see. Obviously, he and Matt are forming a team up, it seems, at the end. So I'm excited to see where that goes and see. Because it's time. I feel like that's kind of something I've been looking forward to over the past couple episodes. Because Nadim seems like he seems like he's figured everything out, but we know he hasn't as the audience. Because he's sitting there like, oh yeah, Matt Murdock helping, and you guys were working with Matt, and interesting. You did take on a Fisk client at one point, didn't you? How curious. And he's talking with like this confidence, like he knows everything. But we know he doesn't know. We know that they know that we know. Or we know that they don't know that we know. We don't know. That's a little Friends reference for you. You're welcome. I know I didn't say it exactly right, but whatever. So I've been looking forward to this moment where finally he starts to figure out the truth. He starts to figure out that he has been played, and it's going to shake his confidence a little bit, because he has felt so in charge this season, and he has felt like he's really taken hold of this case and it's his, and he felt like he was doing a good job with it. So to find out that he wasn't, and find out he's been played this whole time, yeah, it's definitely going to be a nice moment when he finally sees the error of his ways and comes around. But yeah, aside from that, I'm also excited to see what Fisk's plan is, that Foggy seemingly has figured out. Also, we do get to see how Fisk has kept so many tabs on everything. He has apparently this little basement that he set up, or cellar or some sort, that he can get to from his room. I do find it weird because it seems like there's a lot of steps to get down there. And, like, what if one time the FBI just decided, we're just going to come bursting in here and run up instantly to the top of the stairs just to check and see if he's up there. And he's definitely not going to have enough time to get back up to his bed and get the door closed before they get up there. So, a little strange that they built it so far down with so many steps. But it hasn't worked against him yet, so and obviously he does have a camera on the door so he can see when he needs to get into bed. But yeah, it was nice to see that he does have a lot of tabs on everything going on in the city, which, it makes sense because he seemed, as Matt was saying, 5 steps ahead. So it was a nice inclusion. It kind of explains a lot of why he's been so omniscient, apparently. There's also the girl that was in there. Is that the girl that Dex was into? I don't know. It was hard for me to tell. She looked similar, but I'm actually going to look it up real quick just to see if I'm just tripping a little bit. But it looked like it could have been her. It looked like she might be actually working for him, which would not be too surprising because then it would even further help his plan into turning Dex onto his side, which I still find a little weird. Like I was saying in the last episode, how Dex was going or pretty much working for him. Felt more like he would not be wanting to work for him. Okay, I don't see the girl's name on here. So that's not right. Hang on. I don't think that was her. It just looked kind of similar, but it was also dark, so yeah. Anyways, wasted a little bit of time there. Who cares? I don't even know if anybody's going to be watching this. If you are, good on you. I appreciate the viewership. Leave a comment telling me how bad my videos suck because, hey, any comment helps feed the algorithm, right? Anyways, on to the next episode. See you there in a sec. What? Episode 8. Upstairs, downstairs. What just happened? Wow. Whew. Yeah, I mean, this episode, it was a good one. A lot of good moving pieces. Matt working with Nadim. You see Foggy revealing the plan that he's figured out Fisk has and trying to take his plan to action. But then Karen says she's going to take matters into her own hands because she lost her job and she's kind of going off the deep end a little bit. And so she attempts to basically kind of get Fisk to do something stupid. But then Foggy and the FBI stop her. Just it played out pretty well, and stuff with Matt and Nadim, it was interesting. We see they figure out it's Dex that was the one dressed up in the Daredevil suit, and Matt knows it, but Nadim, he wants to give him the benefit of the doubt. He wants to really give him every chance because he still cares about Dex as not only a coworker, but I think he was also a friend. So yeah, he's trying to give him every possible scenario before they get to that point, which makes sense from Nadim's point of view. But of course, then once he sees what's going on, like when Dex shoots them from ricocheting the bullet off of the bars across the street or whatever, however he did it, he realizes that's the issue. And then of course Dex also sees his face, so now he knows. So that was all interesting and stuff. The stuff with Kingpin, seeing him work Dex more. They freaking kill off Julie. It happened so quickly too. It was just out of nowhere. They're just in her hallway, and then all of a sudden shot, she's dead. They clean up her body, take her phone, and then text Dex and say, "I never want to see you again," and block his number to just drive him right into Fisk's arms. Wow, okay. it just happened so quickly that it sort of caught me off guard, and it hit me. I'm like, oh my god, she's gone. She's dead. That's it. So yeah, that was crazy. And then you just get to this final moment where Matt's opening up with Maggie the nun, and I don't know, the music was building. We see her lighting a candle. We see him punching the punching bag, and he hears her praying. And I'm just they're making this really intense moment out of nothing. He's training, he's hearing her praying, she's praying. Okay, why is the music getting so intense? What is this about? And then she says, "Our son." talking to Jack. Whew. It just my head exploded, and then I had to piece it back together and tape it all up, and I think I missed a few pieces, which is why I'm still a little, yeah, gotta get it together. Yeah, so interesting. I didn't see this one coming. I don't know. I don't know. I don't really know what the point of it is. Whew. Sorry, I'm a little tired. Trying to stifle yawns here. Yeah, but it's an interesting plot development. Definitely throws some more time in. Because the thing about it is, I'm looking and I'm like, okay, so this was episode 8. And there's 13 episodes, which means we still got 5 full episodes left. And I mean, these are, yeah, they're all at least 45 minutes long. Some of them are longer. So, pretty long episodes, and they're generally chock full of stuff. Like, there's never really much downtime. It always feels like something is happening. Even in the moments where it is a bit slower or they kind of take a break, stuff is being said, and they're talking about what's going on. So there's rarely a moment where the plot is not being driven forward. So whenever... why is there something scratching the back of my throat right now? So unprofessional. What can I say? I don't make enough money doing this. But yeah, so whenever the plot's moving forward and I see that they're in Dex's apartment and I'm thinking, okay, this is episode 8. They're not going to catch him yet. And so it kind of makes me feel like this plot twist that they've thrown in now, where this is his mom, kind of makes me feel like this is just here to maybe pad the runtime a little bit more, to make sure that there's more time for them to, I guess, talk about something else, so that way they don't always have to focus on the main plot. That's kind of a little bit how it feels, but also maybe there is a point to introducing her now that I just don't know about yet, and we'll find out about it later. But I mean, yeah, it's definitely got my interest, and whew, probably get one more episode out tonight before I'm gonna go to bed. But I'm excited now. I'm excited to see what they're gonna do with this. It was a very well done scene because it got me excited to see what was being said, mainly through the music, and I'm just like, I don't know why they're hyping me up right now, and then whenever that moment hits, it hits, and seeing him hear that and stop himself, and he's just like, oh, and just collapses. Yeah, it was a really well done moment. So yeah, we'll see what happens next. On to the next episode. See you there. And now episode 9, Revelations. God, it's like they started the shocks coming at the end of last episode. Like, finding out that Maggie is actually Matt's mom, which is kind of like a holy crap moment. And then they just kick off this episode with an even bigger holy crap moment. Oh my god. Because the thing is, we had seen that Fist Driver, whoever he is, had come and gotten Dex at the end of last episode, or so, I think that was the end of last episode. But we saw him go and get him, and I'm thinking to myself, I'm worried that something's gonna happen. Like, they know that they're doing this meeting about Dex, and so he's gonna show up and he's gonna kill everybody there but Ray, or he's gonna try to kill all of them. Maybe Ray gets away. And so whenever he's finished telling the story and then all of a sudden the guy gets shot in the throat, I'm thinking, where did he shoot him from? And then all of a sudden the boss lady, I forget it, Hatley, I think is her name. Pretty sure it's her name. You just hear her go, Ray, no, put it down, and then shooting him in the head. I'm just like, what? So yeah, Fist somehow has managed to completely take over the FBI. I guess he did that a while ago. Yeah, that's I don't know. It throws a huge wrench in my theory of what's been going on this season. Because I mean, I was expecting it to be like it was going to come down to Matt and Foggy and Karen trying to convince the FBI that Fisk is using them. But then all of a sudden we're just like, no, that's not the story. The FBI knows they're getting used. In fact, most of them are just willingly going along because they're too scared or they've been bought off or whatever. Just out of nowhere. And I'll admit, the one thing about this, obviously Kingpin, if any villain could be that way, Kingpin is the one to do it with because, I mean, yeah, he's the boss man. He knows how to play people. He knows how to strategize and use people's fear against them to use them, which is essentially what he seems like he's doing with a lot of these FBI agents. So he's definitely one that I could see him getting this type of control. The problem is because I've seen it done before, it kind of becomes it's become a cliche, for your villain to be several steps ahead and just have so much control and so much power. It gets a little cliche for me, and I've seen it done in other shows. So because I've seen it done so much, I am kind of sitting here going like, oh, of course the FBI now just completely works for him. Most of them doing it knowingly, so of course he has that much power. Like, I wouldn't be surprised if some of the NYPD is like, oh yeah, we work for him too. I don't know. I'm not a huge fan of that. Now, I will say, comparing it to another similar story, if you look at Ricardo Diaz in Arrow, the one thing that makes this work better than that story is that Ricardo Diaz for me was never that intimidating of a villain. Like, he was always just built up to be this super scary dude and like, oh my gosh, he's the dragon. Like, everybody fear him. But then whenever he actually fights, like, Oliver typically could take him down pretty easily. And he just somehow, first of all, he outwitted the, was it the Thinker? Not the Thinker. Who did he outwit? He outwitted somebody that was like super smart, like super genius level. He pretended like he was working for him, and then he flipped it around and actually was working against him and then killed him in the end. So it's like somehow he outsmarted that guy, and then he has the police in his pocket, he has the banks in his pocket, he has politicians in his pocket, just out of nowhere. It just came out of complete nowhere. I'm just like, this is not an intimidating villain. You gave him all this power because the writers said he had all this power and no other reason, and he's not that intimidating in a fight. He's not really that scary. The Kingpin, he's come into all this power, which we're actually getting some backstory, first of all, which is one good thing. Like, it's not just like, oh, well, he's just that rich and that's just how he has all the power. No, Kingpin, like, we've seen some of the stories into how, like, for instance, Dex, like, he worked him hard and he put a lot of time. Nadeem, Hatley was telling him at one point in the elevator, this is how he worked you. He kept getting these, like, banks to say no to the loans to help your sister-in-law, and that just put you on this case and made you want this so bad that you were willing to do anything. And now your family's life is at risk. He took out one of my daughters, or I think it was one of her daughters. She said she used to have 2 kids, and then they made it look like a hit and run. Now she only has 1. So, like, we're seeing how Kingpin has worked the system some. Now, that being said, I do kind of feel like he is getting this power a little too easily sometimes. Like, at what point does somebody just say, you know what? No, I'm just going to walk in here. I don't care if it's murder. I'm going to shoot him before he kills my family. Like, I am a little surprised that thought hasn't crossed anybody's mind yet. And I feel like, somebody at some point would say, I don't want to lose anybody I love. I don't want to lose my family. I would rather go to prison for murdering an evil man rather than lose my family. Because, once he's gone, I mean, sure, his underlings might still carry out his dirty work, but they'll be a lot less powerful without him in charge. So that's the one plot hole I think I found in this. But on top of that, though, what makes this work better than the Ricardo Diaz story is that Kingpin himself is actually an intimidating villain. Like, the performance is more intimidating, his character is more intimidating, just all around. He's so much more clever than anybody else in the room. Like, he has all this information at his fingertips, and it's almost like he's playing chess with everybody's lives, and he knows what he's doing. So it works for me. Like, I do have my issues here and there. Sometimes I do feel like it's a little cliche. Whenever we found out all of these FBI agents were involved, when it was just Dex was working for him, and then we found out Hatley was working for him, it was kind of like, okay, so he's managed to turn kind of the top of the FBI. Like, that explains why he's gotten away with some of what he has. But then when they walk in the room and there's like 7 FBI agents in there all working for him, it did kind of lose its specialness. That's not the word. What's specialty? Specialty, I think, is a better word. But something about like the idea that he's managed to get just the right people on his side, but when it's just like he's managed to flip all of these people so easily, it's kind of like, okay, like that seems a little too easy for me. I wish it weren't this easy for him to be in power. But then again, part of what these Netflix Marvel shows likes to do is like just show how shitty humans can be. Jessica Jones is the worst about it. But yeah, most of them are just like, no, humans are evil. Humans are despicable. Most humans will turn on you like that. And I don't know. There's that part of me that doesn't really like that because I'm like, no, we can be better. Like I don't want to be negative and just be like, oh, I mean, this is so believable. I mean, God, if there was a guy in power who was threatening all these people's lives and threatening their jobs, threatening to take away licenses even, and they were forced to lie about maybe a drug that was helping a disease. I mean, they would do it probably. Sorry, letting my own personal thoughts getting into this. Anyways, but aside from that, everything going on with Matt in this one, pretty interesting. We're seeing him really come to grips with finding out about Maggie being his mom. I like what they did, having his dad talk to him a bit, and then having that voice slowly turn into Kingpin, which I feel like at some point this voice is going to be... We've got to have a conclusion to it, because the voice has been just taunting him all season. He's kind of giving in to what the voice is telling him, to the point now where he's ready to kill Kingpin when he gets the chance. He even does it in his mind, whenever Kingpin starts talking to him. And I just feel like I don't think that would be a good way to end his story. There was that possibility that he could kill him in the first season, and they kind of flirted with the idea, so then he didn't do it. And they're doing it kind of similarly here. At least I'm pretty sure they did in the first season, if I remember right. But like this idea that he's going to kill the Kingpin, I feel like, I don't know, he can't really carry through with that. And I don't know if the Kingpin's still going to be alive at the end of all of this, because it does sort of feel like if you don't kill him, I mean, his story is not done, because he's not the type of villain that's just like, oh, you've locked me up in prison? Well, I guess I'm stuck here, clearly. Like, we're seeing what he's still capable of doing even within a prison. So, there's got to be more. Either they got to, like, completely take away all of his assets and basically destroy his criminal legacy and take down everything that he's owned or basically has ever done. They'll have to either do that, or he's going to end up dying. But I feel like if Matt kills him, it just would not be a satisfying conclusion for Matt's story. I feel like the satisfying conclusion for Matt's story is having the chance to kill him after all of this is said and done, and still choosing not to because he's better than that. Because he's not everything that he's telling himself that he is. He's not this devil that is just willing to do the dirty work. Like, he's not that person. And if he kills him, then he becomes that person. I feel like that would not be a good way, especially since this is the last season of Daredevil. I don't know if they knew that whenever they were writing this. So maybe he does end up killing him, and they were planning on kind of giving him a redemption arc after this. But yeah, I just feel like you can't really have him kill Kingpin. But with that being said, I wouldn't be surprised if he doesn't take the chance to kill him and then somebody else does, or Kingpin in his own arrogance kills himself somehow. Something along those lines. I would not be surprised if Kingpin doesn't last through this season. Which would be a little disappointing. I mean, I wouldn't mind, because the talk that Charlie Cox is going to be in the next Spider-Man movie does bring up the possibility that if Kingpin lives through this season, then maybe we get to see Vincent D'Onofrio come in and play the Kingpin in Spider-Man, because Kingpin was also a Spider-Man villain. So, yeah, it would be pretty cool to see him come onto the big screen as well. Especially, I mean, these performances are just so good. Like, you can't argue that. And I think, aside from Iron Fist, because I don't think, I can't remember his name now, but the guy they picked to play Danny Rand, I don't think he was really cast well for that part. The way they wrote him, there's just certain things, like when he was first in his kind of naive state coming back home, all of that stuff, and he played that part well, but then whenever he had to get serious and he had to grow and he had to become a different character, he didn't do that part of it well. So he wasn't really well cast for that. But everybody else in these Marvel Netflix shows has been perfectly cast. And I mean, these two are just perfectly cast. Like the perfect opposition to each other, and you really feel there's this chemistry between the two of them. Obviously, it's kind of reverse chemistry because you feel the hatred, but just the way they play off of each other is so good, and it makes me so engaged and makes me want to see them go head to head because there's some sort of spark that you just want to see them fight. And it's there is something to be said about that type of chemistry. Like when you are able to play opposite somebody and show that hatred. I mean, it can bring out some great scenes, and they've certainly done that with this season. So, aside from that, Foggy, we don't see him a whole lot in this. He's kind of questioning his decision run for the district attorney, even though he has a chance to win now, mainly because his brother was an idiot and got his parents involved with the Kingpin. Yeah, when his brother started saying, like, you gotta take back what you said, I was like, yeah, you got tied up with the Kingpin because you're an idiot. So I don't really know what to expect from Foggy, because honestly, he's been probably one of the best characters this season. Like, just the way they've handled him, the way they've used him in the story, but also as a motivational tool for the characters. Like, he's been a really good character this season. I've really enjoyed getting to see him be the voice of reason for Karen, be the voice of reason for Matt, be the voice of reason for most of the city. So yeah, I really have liked what they're doing with his character, and I hope that he makes a good decision here and kind of has a solution for what he's going through at the moment. And then, of course, Karen is going to be hiding out at the church, and then we find out Kingpin's going after her. So that's going to be where next episode picks up at, which will be Matt's probably going to leave his chance to kill Kingpin to go save Karen instead, which totally makes sense. But I'm sure it's going to frustrate him a little bit that he had his chance, and it ends up becoming wasted because, yeah, he's got to go save Karen. He has to. He doesn't have a choice. So, but anyways, with all that being said, that's it for these 3 episodes. So let me know what you guys think down in the comment section below. What were your thoughts on these episodes? Let me know. We could talk about and discuss all that good stuff. Leave a like and subscribe for future Daredevil reviews, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Peace out.